At our head office next to Arcade Shopping Mall. Top Star Solar. Power your life.
A new dawn is upon us, with great opportunities and a new hope for our future. Have you considered advertising your business on Sun FM TV with our surprisingly affordable rates? When you advertise on Sun FM TV, you'll also get free equivalent radio advertising spots or shoutouts on Sun FM Radio. For more details, call us on +260 961 205 967 or +260 212 615 341. Email marketing@sunfmzambia.net. It's a new dawn of new affordable advertising packages on Zambia's first and finest visual radio, reaching over 5 million people across the whole country. If you're not advertising on Sun FM TV, then you're probably not being heard or seen. Come on board and advertise with us. Everyone's not only listening, everyone is watching.
Nothing left in the village. Locals help to fight devastating Latakai wildfires. The wave of wildfires has continued to sweep through rural areas in Latakai for the 60th consecutive day, despite the efforts of firefighting teams and aircraft from several countries, including Turkey, Jordan, and Syria. Footage features a raging fire surrounded by thick clouds of smoke. It also shows helicopters dropping water on flames and civilians using tree branches to help with firefighting efforts. Omar Abu Ahmed, a member of the Syrian Ministry of Defense, say Turkish and Jordanian firefighting units, along with units from the Syrian Ministry of Defense, are participating in the firefighting operations. Our brothers from the White Helmets have also been involved since the early hours of the fire outbreak. We haven't been able to fully contain the fire. The wind plays a major role and the area is mountainous and rugged. In his turn, Abu Daniel, a resident, noted the fires reached us from the Basit area. There was no chance to put in out honestly. We ran away out of fear. The winds were very strong and nothing was left in the village. No olive or lemon groves, even the water pipes were burned. Hussein Kurel, another resident, added our neighbors here were forced to flee toward the city of Lutakaya. It was mandatory. There was no other option. The Minister of Emergency and Disaster Management, Raid Al-Salih, confirmed that Damascus has requested support from the European Union to help extinguish the ongoing wildfires in the Latakia countryside. This comes in addition to efforts by Turkish and Jordanian teams. He noted that 16 firefighting aircraft are currently in operation, with the number likely to increase to 20 if the EU intervenes. According to Abed Kafi Kayao, director of the Coastal Emergency and Disaster Management Directorate, ground teams have successfully extinguished several critical fire spots in the village of Al Falak into new areas to prevent the fires from spreading. Some families have been reportedly evacuated for their safety, given the potential for fires to ignite due to unstable weather conditions, which continue to hinder containment efforts. So high-tech, China introduces world's biggest inflatable dome in Jinan to reduce noise and dust levels during construction. The world's largest inflatable dome at the construction site in Jinan, eastern China, designed to minimize dust and noise, has become a viral sensation on social media. Footage filmed on Wednesday reveals that the 50-meter tall white dome, rising behind the historic Sacred Heart Cathedral. The structure covers the site for a new commercial complex spanning 20,000 square meters in Shandong province. Its purpose is to create a cleaner and quieter building site, minimizing the impact on surrounding communities and the environment. From a distance, it resembles a giant loaf of bread. I've heard the workers inside enjoy a cool environment, and it doesn't disturb the public, making it a beautiful sight in Jinan, said local Huang Zheng. Another local, Louis Yaming, also noticed the impact of Tom saying, I pass by every day and I barely notice any dust or hear any noise. I believe this significantly mitigates the impact of construction on nearby residents, clearly reducing dust and noise levels. Inside the area's supported structure, the entire space requires no support beams or columns. This open design permits large construction equipment to operate freely once full-scale work commences. Many residents also expressed excitement for this innovative noise prevention method. Once the large air dome is lifted off, the building will emerge and will find this very surprising. It feels so high-tech, says resident Cheng Shqing. Although the dome will be removed upon project completion, this eco-friendly construction model is poised to be replicated across Jinan for municipal projects and historical neighborhood renovations, providing cities with a revolutionary silent mode for urban development. Located directly across the street from schools, residential areas, and historic bins, structure functions as green shield, blocking 90% of dust particles and reducing construction noise by 80%, while also protecting against wind, rain, and snow, allowing work to proceed uninterrupted even during rainy season. Democratic scandal: police raid the national rally headquarters in Paris amid illegal finance and probe. Police raided the headquarters of the right-wing National Rally Party in Paris on Wednesday morning as part of an ongoing judicial probe into alleged illegal financing during recent election campaigns. Footage shows officers carrying boxes out of the building and loading them into a vehicle before leaving the scene. Meanwhile, a crowd of journalists gathered as some party members delivered statements to the press. National Rally's Wallaland Dissent just called the raid a democratic scandal, stating, "We are never accused of anything. We'll see once again that police officers, 2 prosecutors and investigating judges to search everywhere and all the elements of the political party." National Rally spokesperson Lorenzo Giacobelli said police had confiscated all of the party's data, including private emails and financial records. France's leading political party no longer holds any secrets from the government. Our candidate lists, our platforms, the way we plan to campaign, and our strategies are all known to the government, the spokesperson said. What we find intolerable is, let's face it, the harassment and persecution being perpetrated against the National Rally, against its leaders and its executive, he continued. Giacobelli argued that the search will serve no purpose and accused opposition parties of attempting to uncover the National Rally's campaign strategies. All the data is already known, so why go looking into our computers? Why go searching through our personal documents, even those of the party president, if not to find out what we're planning for the next legislative or presidential elections? Are they that scared? Giacobelli said the search is reportedly focused on internal loans by wealthy supporters to the National Rally and its candidate. The party is now under mounting legal scrutiny on several fronts, just months after its leader, Marine Le Pen, was convicted of embezzling the public funds, a verdict she is currently appealing. Le Pen was barred from running the 2027 election after a court found she had misused EU funds to pay party staff. She has handed a 5-year politician ban and forced immediately rather than suspended pending appeal, a 4-year prison sentence which remains on hold during the appeals process. Bangladesh monsoons 100,000 stranded as torrential rains unleashes widespread flooding in Feni. Heavy monsoon rainfall in Feni, southeastern Bangladesh, has caused several rivers to swell and breach embankments, submerging more than 100 villages and leaving up 100,000 people stranded. Ground footage shows vast areas and many roads are submerged in waist-deep muddy water, with locals wading through it in an attempt to carry on with their daily activities. The relentless downpour, combined with upstream water flow from India's Tripura state, caused the Muhuri, Kua, and Salonia rivers to rise, breaching embankments at 21 points. The flooding in dotted villages across multiple sub-districts, including Fugazi, Pashurma, Changanya, and Sada. Personnel from the army, police, and the fire services have helped people trapped in flood-hit areas, transporting them to safety in shelters. Speedboats were deployed and food was distributed, while the government opened more than 160 centers to house over 8,000 displaced residents. As floodwaters engulfed homes, residents also brought their livestock to the shelters for protection, with coastal flooding and the riverbank breaches a constant burden concerns mounting over the risk of landslide across Bangladesh. Feni has also suffered widespread power outages and contamination of water supply. We are poor people living in daily wages. This year alone, we have faced 2 floods. How we have managed to survive these disasters, a local woman said. Many residents argued that the disasters emblematic of long-standing governance failures, pointing to damaged embankments last year that remained unrepaired and blocked drainage system. Some alleged funds allocated for dam repairs were misappropriated by local officials, placing lives in jeopardy. Without proper dam infrastructure, will be forced to seek shelter every year, with our families and children at risk. While some can reach the shelter, many cannot, and we can suffer. A second local added. By Friday, the rainfall had eased slightly and river levels began to recede. However, the government's flood forecasting agency warned of the risk of renewed flooding if upstream water flow continued. Scorched earth, Latakia forest reduced to ash as Turkish Jordanian helicopters joined Syrian firefighting from a drone. Footage captured on Monday shows vast areas of woodland in Syria's western Latakia province reduced to grey ash blanketed wasteland by wildfire. The footage also shows Turkish and Jordanian military aircraft taking part in firefighting efforts as the wildfires can be seen continuing to rage. Wildfires broke out in the forests of Latakia last week, with Syrian civil defense noting that high temperatures and wild winds had caused the blaze to spread rapidly. Raed Al-Saleh, Minister of Emergency Disaster Management in Syria interim government, said in a statement posted on X late on Monday that between April and July 7, a total of 2,054 agriculture and forest fires had been recorded across the country. The highest number was in Latakia with 441 agriculture and forest fires, followed by Tartus with 308. The ministry had earlier announced the establishment of joint field operations room to provide logistical and ground support firefighting efforts in the northern countryside of Latakia. All we want is justice. Boniface trial begins for policeman accused of fatal protest shooting in Nairobi. The trial is underway of police officer Kinzi Baraza charged with murder of 20-year-old mask vendor Boniface Kariku during anti-government protests in Nairobi on June 7. Baraza appeared at the Milimani High Court on Thursday, where Judge Kanji Kimondo announced that a formal plea would be deferred until the accused undergoes a mandatory mental assessment, charging you with murder contrary to Section 203 as well as Section 204 of the Penal Code. Judge Kimondo said, for the time being, you didn't comment on the information or plead to the charge until you are examined by consultant psychiatrists. Baraza will remain in remand custody and be escorted to Bagadia District Hospital, Kenya National Hospital, or another government facility for evacuation. The next hearing is scheduled for 28 July 2025. Defense lawyer Abzirazak confirmed the adjournment, citing the required psychiatric report with being given 14 days for the purpose of doing a mental assessment. Only then a plea can be taken. Baraza is accused of fatally shooting Kariuki at close range on Moy Avenue outside a Menti house during a protest, denouncing police violence. Video evidence reportedly shows Baraza and fellow officer Duncan Kiprono confronting the unarmed vendor before the fatal shooting. Kiprono has since been released without charges. Kariuki, who was selling masks on the street, sustained critical head injuries and later died in the hospital with bullet fragments still lodged in his brain. All we want is justice for Boniface. He was just starting his life, trying to survive with his small business. Now we will never see him again. His life was cut short. All we can ask is for justice, said our grandmother Eunice Kirago. According to the Kenya National Commission on the Human Rights, at least 31 people have died and 107 have been injured. And amid the ongoing unrest, tensions remain high in Kenya following a year of Gen Z-led protests, which also sparked public outcry due to the alleged violent intervention by authorities and police.
Any other convenient government facility for mental assessment. Plea is accordingly deferred to 28th of July 2025, and you'll be remanded at the Nairobi remand. Thank you.
Direction that the same be done within 15 days and coming back for.
Today matters also deferred because it couldn't take off. As a result, we have been given 14 days for which the accused will be taken to a government facility for purpose of doing mental assessment. Only then a plea can be taken. So we have been given to come on 28th of July 2025 for purpose of taking a plea.
Sisi kama familia tunataka tu justice for Boniface itendeke, juu alikuwa kijana mdogo unexperienced, na juu alikuwa akijaribu kupanga maisha yake, na akaanzia na hiyo kazi kidogo na ile pesa kidogo alikuwa nayo ya kuuza mask, na ndio alikuwa akianzia kupanga his life. Kwa hivyo sababu the life yake imekuwa cut short, tuseme ile ingine tugeuliza tu ni justice, juu hakuna kitu ingine. Justice for Boniface peke yake tu. There is nothing else. Sasa tutahitaji kwa huyo mtoto, hatutamuona tena, hatuna nini ingine. So justice for Boniface ndio tu tunaulizia. His life was cut short.
Nairobi mourns a protest victim as anti-government unrest intensifies. Mourners gathered at All Saints Cathedral in Nairobi on Wednesday to honor Boniface Mwangi Kariuki, a young hawker shot dead at close range during Kenya's anti-government protests on June 17. Footage shows Mwangi's family arriving at the service with his mother breaking down in tears throughout. A priest lead the memorial ceremony as mourners listen to speeches and some wipe away tears. It pains me a lot knowing today that my friend, who was working tirelessly selling masks just to make a niche, was shot dead by police, said a victim's friend. He added, it also pains us as a country knowing that many people have died because of police brutality, and that has been happening in the country. Stressing, I know the country is in pain and everyone is in pain. We believe that God is going to bring justice to all victims, to all activities that took place. His death is not just a tragedy, but it's a piercing wound to all of us, said Priest Boniface Kariuki, mask bender in Nairobi, was struck in the head at the close range by a rubber bullet and rushed to the ICU at Kenyatta National Hospital. After several days in a coma, he was pronounced brain dead and passed away on June 30. He had joined the protest calling for justice over the death of blogger Albert Ojwang, who was earlier found dead in police custody. According to the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, at least 31 people have died and 107 have been injured amid the ongoing unrest. Tensions remain high in Kenya following a year of Gen Z-led protests, which was sparked public outcry due to the alleged violent intervention by authorities and police. China's MOFCOM accuses EU of hiding facts as trade tensions escalate. Spokesperson of China's Ministry of Commerce, He Yongqiang, fired back at European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, accusing the EU of hiding facts and displaying double standards on issues such as overcapacity and market access. Speaking on Thursday, he rejected recent remarks from von der Leyen about China's trade practices, insisting they do not represent the true state of economic cooperation between Beijing and the bloc, nor do they reflect the positive progress made by the dialogue and communication between the economic and trade authorities of the two sides. He added, on the issue of subsidies, the European side engages in double standards, being demanding of others and neglecting self-discipline and self-continued. She continued, the criticism follows the EU president's warning that Europe must rethink its relationship with China, describing it as a major global power that floods markets to kill competition. It is against the background that Chinese side is compelled to take reciprocal countermeasures to safeguard the legitimate interest of Chinese enterprises, he responded. China has repeatedly emphasized that its export controls are prudent and proportionate, and that the number of items under export control is far fewer than that of the European Union, she added. Sought He Yongqiang, a spokesperson of China's Ministry of Commerce on U.S. buyers of critical minerals bypass China's export ban. Strategic minerals such as antimony and gallium have obvious dual-use controls, and the implementation of export controls on them is in line with internationally accepted practices in order to resolutely prevent illicit outflows. In May this year, the Office of China's National Coordination Mechanism for Export Control work deployed a special operation to combat the smuggling and export of strategic minerals, and the relevant information can be found on the website of the Ministry of Commerce. He also addressed the recent export regulations from Beijing, which led to sharp drops in availability and prompted calls for more resolute European response. Strategic minerals such as antimony and gallium have obvious dual use controls, and the implementation of export controls on them is in line with internationally accepted practices, the spokesperson said. At the same time, China, as responsible as a big country, also takes into full consideration of the reasonable civilian needs of countries for the above-mentioned strategic minerals and examines the relevant export license applications in accordance with the law and approves the compliant applications, he added. China currently processes around 90% of the rare earth elements in the world. The EU imports the vast majority of that bulk, making it highly vulnerable to supply chain disruptions.